Hello and welcome to the Man from Hildebrand. This week is going to be a little bit of a Bond news roundup, and for me to kind of discuss what's been going on in the news, which hasn't been a great deal. So, first of all, I'm going to start with a recent event that I was fortunate to attend, which was the Shaken Not Stirred for Queen and Country, which basically celebrated 60 years of Thunderball, 40 years of A View to a Kill, 30 years of GoldenEye, and 10 years of Spectre. It was an absolute mammoth of a weekend, and it was, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, you had, I think, over 20 kind of VIP guests who was sort of cast or crew of the Bond films. Um, and they had several panels where they came and talked about the appropriate Bond films which they starred in and worked on. So yeah, a massive shout out to the organisers of Shaken Not Stirred, because I can't. I mean, I believe this is probably the fourth event that they've done at Pinewood Hotel, and in my honest opinion, I think it's kind of gone a little bit better than what Bond Stars used to be. It's exactly the same format as Bond Stars, where it's all round tables. You sit to these round tables, and then you have dinner, and then you have guests and stuff talking. It is very much like that, but the reason why I feel it's even better is because first of all, it's cheaper, and the fans are just normal fans. They are just all down to earth. When I went to the Bond Stars event, I felt that there was a bit of a hierarchy in sort of the elite Bond fan. People who been Bond fan. It's basically like a room full of I've got a bigger James Bond dick than yours. I don't do that because at the end of the day, I don't care who you've seen or who you managed to interview or any of this. Doesn't bother me. At the end of the day, you're a James Bond fan just as much as I am. You're no bigger, you're no less. We're here because we are still Bond fans, and there was certainly no egos. That's the thing. Up at Bond Stars, I kind of felt that certain people had egos. There was none of that, and it was just generally down to earth people. Most of them I've known for a few years, and then I kind of was quite privileged to meet new people as well. So all round the atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. I mean, a massive shout out to Stuart O'Neill, X-Ray Stu, who provided all the props and paraphernalia and all the graphics. I mean, the bloke. I mean, he's paid for it himself. I mean, it's all out of his own back pocket, and the amount of effort and work that's gone into it was, for me, is what kind of made it that a little bit more special, because you know we're all hardcore Bond fans, and when you got Bond fans who know their shit, it means so much. I mean, it kind of annoys me where I know you've probably got a Bond film and then the specifically got the wrong sort of typeface or font for that title. And X-Ray Stu got it down to a T. He just everything, all the graphics and everything was just absolute second to none. So a massive shout out to Stuart O'Neill, aka X-Ray Stu. But no, Matthew Wood, Nick Fentiman, they did a brilliant job in giving us a fantastic weekend. So Friday night started off with AJ Chowdhury and Matthew Field launching their latest book, Darker Than the Sun, which explores locations of the Bond movies. And then Saturday kind of then led to the actual main event itself, where we had panels discussing A View to a Kill, Thunderball, GoldenEye, Spectre, and then we had a bit of an autograph signing session in the afternoon, and then a brilliant session with Paul Weston telling about his adventures as a stuntman. So yeah, it was a really good weekend. It was something I I kind of paid for back in February, but after everything I've been through, it's just really nice to be there. And I've kind of said many times that I think with us having sort of Bond 26 kind of, well, we know it's going to happen, but there's no immediate news. Naturally, your interest dwindles, and I kind of thought, I need to be involved in these more just to get me enthusiasm back, and my enthusiasm was back. I mean, deep. I mean, I've been a massive Bond fan for nearly 30 years. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. I mean, I had a bit of a low spot a couple of years ago where I think, shit, I've lost interest. But it's back. It's back. But no, yeah, shaken not stirred. If you're not a member, become a member now. Because, as I say, it personally, I think it is no doubt the best fan club out there. There's no egos. There's certainly no arseholes. There's none of this my dick's bigger than your dick kind of thing. It's just natural, down to earth James Bond fans who are just having the whale of the time. So next year it's going to be the Casino Royale 20 years. So they might be doing something focused on that. I would like to go, but it kind of just depends on what position I am in financially, because I'm now on statutory sick pay. But yes, so anyway, shaken not stirred. It was absolute brilliant event. So yes, and I was also fortunate to meet a couple of contenders from the Road to a Million, which came to the Shaken Not Stirred event, and it was Rob and Alex and Dylan. So yeah, I kind of asked a question. I said, are you all Bond fans? And they went, yeah, we absolutely love Bond. And I says, okay, that's interesting, because I felt that in the first season of Road to a Million, the contenders being Bond fans wasn't really obvious. You had all these little nuggets and little Easter eggs, and none of them really acknowledged it. And that I kind of just didn't kind of sit well with me. But season 2, there was a particular scene where Alex was talking Rob through some directions when he was in Mexico City, and Alex was like, in the James Bond film Spectre, Bond goes to blah 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 blah, and I thought, you know what, he knows his stuff, and it was actually nice that you've actually got Bond fans who know their stuff, and they had a lot more Easter eggs and stuff, and I think they kind of sort of acknowledged it more. And the interesting thing is that both Alex and Rob were saying that they was filming the scenes and stuff, and the producer was like, well, hang on, you're kind of making too much too much of a Bond reference. And it's like, well, it's a Bond game show, sure that's Bond. I said, no, we need to tone the references down a bit, which seemed absolutely crazy. But no, yeah, they were really nice guys, and it was just an interesting insight on the making of the show and what the producers and what the production was kind of asking for them. I did ask a question, will the season 3 be in the works, and they kind of said no. I think Amazon have kind of, I mean, who knows, and they might change their mind, but the season 2 was already made before the Amazon takeover, but Amazon have just said no, it's just not working, which is a shame, because I feel that if they give us a 3rd season, they may have just got the balance and everything a bit right. So yes, season 3, unfortunately not. So yeah, Rob and Alex, yeah, it was just an interesting insight. They were Bond fans, and it was kind of acknowledged a little bit more in season 2, even though the producers, there's times when the producer says, no, you're kind of making too much of a reference, you've got to pipe it down a bit. So yeah, that was a kind of sort of interesting. A few weeks back, for about 2 or 3 weeks, Lana Del Rey has been reported to have registered a song called First Light. Now, I have said kind of a while back that I'm kind of really impressed with the publicity that First Light is getting at the moment. I mean, probably a couple of months ago, they had a sort of gaming con or gaming festival somewhere, either in Germany, I think, or maybe even been in London somewhere. I don't know. But they had the DB5, the DBS, Triumph motorbikes, Land Rover, all on the red carpet, and just the scale of it was like a film premiere. And I kind of says, until the film's until the game's released until March, we will probably get snippets and sort of behind the scenes, making of and interviews. I mean, they've just done a bit of an interview with Patrick Gibson, who, in my eyes, is the current James Bond. You can take that as official or not, but it's an officially licensed product, and Patrick Gibson is playing James Bond in a video game, but still he's playing James Bond. So currently, Patrick Gibson is James Bond. And I kind of said that eventually I mean, from my aspect, we've got the artists, and they might have they might have a title song, and they might have a score. So all them things been revealed, and even though it hasn't officially been confirmed, it's been reported that Lana Del Rey has got a song registered as First Light, which probably may seem a little bit coincidental, but we'll see. Now, Lana Del Rey, I've always thought she'd be cracking at doing a Bond song, because she's kind of got that sort of like retro kind of vibe, a bit like Amy Winehouse had. And Lana Del Rey, of course, is no stranger to Bond songs, because she did submit a song for Spectre called 24, which was never used. But I do believe it is out there, and it's probably on one of her albums. I don't think I've actually listened to it or not. I'd have to. But no, Lana Del Rey. I mean, I'm happy with that choice. And the thing is, what I will say is, when keep calling it a film, when that game does come out in March next year, the publicity, the marketing is going to be sky high. You are going to see posters on side of buses, billboards, everything, adverts on TV. This, I think, is kind of very strategically, I can't speak, strategically, you know what I mean, carefully planned. It's kind of, the bridge between No Time to Die and Bond 26. It's at a kind of moment, it'll introduce a younger generation, gamers, to Bond. And then you will have the new Bond 26 film follow a year or so after. So basically, First Light, I kind of feel, could well be the GoldenEye of the 90s, because GoldenEye of the night, that just brought in a new, it just reinvented Bond, regenerated the kind of Bond fandom. It brought in a new actor. Bond was up to date, no Cold War. Brosnan did Bond good. He brought it through the 90s after a 6-year hiatus. I feel that First Light's going to be the same. First Light, there's going to be so much hype on that, and with the clips and stuff I've seen, I love it already. I mean, I'm not fully convinced in getting the PS5 yet, but I'm happy with what I see. And it's just absolutely, it's So I think we will get exciting bits. We might even get the composer of I don't know, it might end up being Lorne Balfe or something, composing the music to it. I don't know. But anyway, Lana Del Rey is been sort of rumoured, or is basically basically got a song registered called First Light. Take that any which way you will, but I'm kind of sort of confident that it could well be for the video game. So yeah, again, when that's officially confirmed, we may even get to hear the song on radio, which will be the first Bond video game song we would actually hear on the radio. So there's going to be a lot of hype around that. And of course, what you'll have is you'll have the general public saying, "Oh yeah, there's a new Bond film out called First Light." No, it's not a Bond film; it's a Bond game. So yeah, so obviously we'll all have that to deal with. But all right, Lana Del Rey could possibly be doing the title song for First Light. What else have we got? Yes, Quantum of Menace, that has now been published. I'm still not going to get it because it just does not appeal to me. I mean, it might be very good, but it's just a concept which I kind of think they've taken a bit too far. And what's pissed me off the most is just the lack of originality in the title, which gets even better because the second Q mystery novel has been announced for next year, and that's called The Man with the Golden Compass. Now, I made a bit of a sarcastic comment a while back saying, with the other way Ian Fleming publications going, they basically just seem to be spoofing and parodying Fleming's title, Quantum of Menace and Hurricane Room as opposed to Hurricane Gold. What will they do next? Gold Thumb, man. The girl with the gold. The girl with the golden gun. You only live once. From Bristol with Love. But no, the Man with the Golden Compass. I'm certainly not too far wrong from the direction they're going in, but still, I'm not going to get it. I say it might be very good, but I just feel that Ian Fleming publications aren't really, well, for me, I don't feel that they're doing what I was expected for them to do. So yeah, I mean, if Quantum of Menace is good and you really enjoy it, great, but I'm not getting it. However, I will get Hurricane Room because I've got the first two novels, and I will one day get around to reading Sherwood's trilogy. But I really hope that the artwork for Hurricane Room is better than the US artwork which has been revealed. It just seems a little bit bland. So yeah, so talking about Ian Fleming publications, I mean that's enough for me being a little bit negative on it. However, I have just finished reading this, The Hook in the Eye by Raymond Benson, and this is the best thing Ian Fleming publications have released since On His Majesty's Secret Service. Now, this was announced back in April, and when Raymond Benson said goodbye, I was a little bit reluctant because I'm not a massive fan of his continuation novels, and I tell you, he was obviously following orders from Ian Fleming Publications. They was told specifically to make his films more his novels more in keeping with the Pierce Brosnan films, and as soon as you read his books, you envision Pierce Brosnan, and they do kind of read as like novelizations. You could easily picture them being films, and I mean that's all very well and good, but I'm kind of really, really weird about keeping my literature Bond separate to the cinematic Bond. And what kind of threw me out is I think it's High Time to Kill. Bond's Aston Martin DB5 makes an appearance, and I thought, well, in the literature canon, he never had a DB5. He actually had a DB3. This is basically inspired by film. So yeah, I mean, I must probably give Benson's Bond continuation novels a bit of a go again. But anyway, the Hook in the Eye, I was actually surprised that I actually really enjoyed it, and this is probably Benson, for me, Raymond's best sort of Bond input. It's kind of basically told from first person perspective, and it's kind of set after the events of Live and Let Die, and it's really cool because Benson kind of explores a bit more into what, gave us a bit more depth into the snippets to what Fleming gave us, and there's obviously, it's kind of set several months after the mishap, which is when Felix got attacked by a shark and lost his limbs and stuff, and then there's kind of a quite a kind of you kind of read Felix's journey through the old rehabilitation and adapting to his hook and prosthesis and all this, and even though it's not the same, I kind of can relate to that regarding my injuries. I mean, thankfully I've got all my limbs, but I kind of know what he's going through when he's got to adapt. Currently I've got to really use my right hand more than ever because my left hand doesn't work because I've got wrist drop, which is due to nerve damage. So when I broke my arm, I damaged my nerve. So this is why this is on, because otherwise my wrist will be like that. And when your wrist is like that, you can't do anything with it. I can move my fingers, but I can't get fully use of it. And yes, it is frustrating. So I've got to learn to adapt to kind of use this hand more. So I kind of totally get where Felix is coming from, where he's got the hook and he's got to learn to use the hook, and obviously there is a psychological thing. I mean, losing a limb, God, I mean, I can imagine, but I'm just grateful that I wasn't in that situation, because losing a limb, I can imagine would be very difficult. So anyway, Benson kind of delves into that, and yeah, I mean, it's basically non-stop sort of kind of thriller, really. There's a lot of double crossing, triple crossing, Smersh come back, and I kind of felt that probably 3/4 of the way through the novel there's definitely kind of North by Northwest Hitchcock vibe to it, but yeah, I mean, if I think personally, Benson, I just hope Benson's working on the second one, because I would love to have, like, I don't know, probably a series of 7 Felix Leiter books which have kind of weaved in and out of the Fleming Bond timeline. I mean, they could even have Bond appear in one of them, and there could be on a mission that appears in a Fleming novel, but it could be spoken from, told from Felix's point of view. I mean, again, there's so much potential you could do with that, so yeah, it's yeah. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Well done, Raymond. And yeah, if you haven't got it, I suggest you get it, because out of everything that IFP have kind of gave us since they've become an in-house publisher, that in On His Majesty's Secret Service is probably the best. I don't have much time for Sherwood or the Q Mysteries or this James Bond of the Secret Academy. Doesn't appeal to me. What I want is more Felix set within the Fleming timeline. What I also want is more contemporary Bond. What I want is Robert Harris to come along and give us a set of 5 or 6 novels set during World War II about Bond. I want, IFP to give us 10 novels that are set in the 1970s of Bond. That's what I want. I'm not interested in all these spin-offs, because next we'll be having a spin-off about M, and no, I don't want that. If there's going to do a spin-off from Q, what I wanted was a fictionalised biography of Major Boothroyd, set in Fleming's timeline, going back to Major Boothroyd's roots or early days in the First World War. That's what I wanted. I don't want a kind of Q with the modern day becoming, retiring and becoming a detective, because I don't, we've got plenty of detective novels. We've got Agatha Christie, we've got Richard Osman. We've got loads. I don't feel the need that the Bond universe should be mixed into that. I just don't get it. I just really don't get it. But I mean, if you like it, you like it. So the hook in the eye, if you haven't got it, I would, get it quick, because I absolutely loved it. So yes, what else do we have? Well, I can't even read my own writing. Oh yeah. Oh, Henry Cavill. He seems to be floating about still. Uh, yeah. Again, it's the same old shit that's on social media. Who will the next Bond be? And it's kind of really difficult, because you get these people. Oh yeah, Henry Cavill be Bond, blah blah. And I comment, say, well, he's too old. Oh no, he's not too old. No, he's younger than you think. Without sounding a knob, how do you approach that subject? It's like, well, at the end of the day, it's been confirmed by the director of the film that they are looking for a British actor, British male actor, unknown, in his early 30s. There's no point sort of speculating about Henry Cavill or Tom Hardy or whoever, because you're wasting your time, and you're going to be very disappointed. That it's been said that they want a Bond in the young 30s. Well, I don't want a Bond in the 30s. Well, okay, that's fine, but that's what you're going to get, because that's what's been said. And it's just what do you, how can you say that without being a knob? At the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it's okay speculating and stuff, but once the facts are there, to me, it's a waste of time and energy to speculate on, I mean, if they confirm the next actor as being such and such, people are still going to speculate, oh yeah, well, it should have been such and such, or it should have been that. Well, it's not going to be them, because it's this person. It's been confirmed as being this particular actor, and that's it. You can't do anything about it. If you don't agree with the choice, fair enough. But expressing your thought isn't going to make a difference, because the actor's been chosen. So for all them Henry Cavill lovers, you've just got to fucking get into your thick head and just fucking accept he ain't going to be Bond. Right? He had his chance back in 2006. He failed. He ain't going to be Bond now, because A, is too old, is too well known, and it just doesn't fit the bill of what's required. So you've got to get him off your minds, and you've got to just narrow it down to what is required. Right? When you start, mentioning people in the 30s, I might have a bit more interest, but otherwise, I don't really care for Henry Cavill, because he's not going to be Bond, and he never will be Bond. And the reason why he's never will be Bond or won't be Bond, because he's just not what the producers or the director are looking for. Alright? It's not going to happen. So get over it. So what else? I mean, I've got a big list here. Bear with me. I can't even read my own bloody writing. Oh yeah, and sadly, Lee Tamhori has passed away. So yeah, apparently with Parkinson's disease, he'd been he'd suffered with that for a while, or probably a short time. But yeah, he's 75, so I was really surprised at that, because he didn't seem that long ago when we saw him doing interviews and expressing his time on Dine of the Day. So yeah, Lee Tamhori. I mean, I haven't seen any of his other films, um, but I do kind of feel that with I mean, Die Another Day started okay, and then it kind of all of a sudden went mental, and I don't think the producers kind of reined him in. But if it wasn't for Lee Tamahori, um, or for Die Another Day, we wouldn't have got Casino Royale, because I felt that obviously Die Another Day, they just thought, right, well, we've done, where can we go? It kind of went over the top, and then we got Casino Royale, which was totally different, and was kind of brought Bond back to earth and back to basics, which is a regular pattern within the Bond films. You know, you get the fourth, fifth film of that actor, and he goes all guns blazing, all over the top, and then when the, you know, either the next act or the next film comes to bring it down. I mean, look at You Only Live Twice. That went a little bit crazy, deviated entirely from the novel, and then they came back with the Majesty's Secret Service with a different actor, and was just was the 1969 equivalent to Casino Royale. It was faithful to the book, and just so human, and just so so down to earth. And then you had Moonraker, that went crazy, and then Roger Moore came and sort of brought, you know, with Few Eyes Only, brought that down to earth. Even though Few Eyes Only was kind of written for another actor, it was brought down to earth. Same with Die Another Day, you went absolutely fucking crazy, and then we had Casino Royale. Agree or disagree, Spectre, you went a little bit crazy, and they kind of brought it back down to earth in No Time to Die. So at least they are aware when they go too far, and when they go, when they go fucking crazy. So yeah, Lee Tamahori, bless him, he's passed away, and may he rest in peace. So that, I think, kind of pretty much rounds up today. So it's not long till Black Friday, and you know what Black Friday means. And I can assure you, I will be doing that. That may be the next episode. That may be the next time you see me is Black Friday. That's if La La Land do announce expanded editions of A View to a Kill and GoldenEye. So yeah, if that happens, I will talk at great length about them, because I was also very fortunate to have met John Altman at the Shaken Not Stirred event. And he was an absolute fantastic bloke, so down to earth, so approachable. And for all I'm going to say for now is, I asked him the question, are you aware of the La La Land expanded CDs? Do you know if they're going to be expanding GoldenEye? And his response was that they had got in touch with him a while back. Of course, John Altman saved one of the most iconic scenes in the franchise, chase scenes, and I wouldn't say he saved the score, because he would have only saved the score for GoldenEye if he had done the whole lot to start off with, but he certainly, saved a very pivotal scene. And yeah, no, the bloke was an absolute legend. It really was a lovely bloke, and he kind of spoke to us about his work on GoldenEye, and he basically just said, he was brought in by Eric Serra to do all the, to arrange all the strings and stuff, and he had heard kind of rumblings early on that the producers and director weren't happy with what Sarah was doing. So on the Friday, the producers rang John Altman up and says, look, we need you to, rescore the tank chase. Saturday, he composed it. Sunday, he did all the arrangements. Monday, he went to the copyists and got all the music copied and stuff. Tuesday, he was in the recording studio, recording the scene, the orchestra. The following Friday, the film was premiered. And Michael Wilson said, you know, if I knew you'd have been this quick, I'd have got you to rescore the whole lot. And you know, it's absolutely fab. You know, like it was a very bizarre one because when we went to the Shaken Not Stirred event, it was on the Friday night, and John Oldman was at the bar, and I just approached him, and I says, I bet you're probably fed up with this, but why did you not do the rest of Goldeneye? And he just laughed, and we kind of had a mutual agreement that, you know, he liked Eric Serra, you know, liked his music, you know, what he did on Leon was great. Great enough for even John Barry to recommend Eric Serra to the producers. And he said, you know, the music he did for that was fantastic. What he did for Goldeneye, he just didn't get. He just doesn't know how to do action. And same with Thomas Newman, you know, and John Oldman said exactly the same as what I've always thought. He says, you know, Thomas Newman, brilliant bloke, just doesn't know how to do action. And I think, yeah, look at Skyfall, I can actually tolerate out of the two, but you look at Spectre, the music's just not Bond for me. And the thing with Goldeneye is I've kind of always said that to as an album, to listen to it, it's a fantastic, you know, it's got some really cool funky pieces, very contemporary, very cool sounds, but it's just not a Bond score. There's nothing to scream Bond out at it. But also John Oldman kind of was pretty confident that Hans Zimmer may be back, could well be back for Bond 26 because he's got a very good working relationship with Denis Villeneuve. So we'll see. But yes, anyway, whenever Good Friday is it the 29th of November or the 31st of November? Good Friday, Black Friday, whenever that is, fingers crossed we may get A View to a Kill, we may get Goldeneye, and that'll be worth another episode on its own, because I say these expanded scores is the equivalent to Bond 26 news for me, and I think for quite a lot of other people as well. So anyway, that's it for now. So it's just a bit of a quick roundup, nothing significant. Yeah, basically. So that's it for now. Thank you once again. Goodbye.